So, Chris, what you got?
Awesome. So the hybrid guitars, these like Fender Acoustasonics, these acoustic electrics that are really trying to be both.
Yeah.
They take the worst qualities of both instruments and put them together. I have not played one of those that I thought was great once.
Yeah.
Sorry. And I love Fender. I play a lot of Fender stuff, but those in general, those guitar lines are just not working for me.
I could see that. Have you played much of those, Oz?
I have one of those guitars. I like it. I think the idea is you have to have the right expectation for this thing. Like, I think this thing will work really good either to an amp or to direct and to get like more synthetic kind of sounds. I don't think it's supposed to give you that acoustic sound, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it's more to get those kind of like half processed, half electric kind of sounds and make them, you know, I think it's got potential actually. I have one, I have not used it, but I kind of noodle on it or take it around, but I haven't used it on anything. But I think it's got potential for some stuff, but it's different. You can't expect it to sound like an acoustic guitar. It's more like an electric acoustic.
Yeah.
You know?
And actually,
you got to commit to that, you know?
Yeah, and that's a good point as like a studio tool, because I've always like seen it at, like, and I've played it live and stuff like that. And live, it doesn't feel like an acoustic or sound like one, and it doesn't feel or play like an. But to find this middle ground for something in the studio, a studio tool would be great. Maybe they could market it as that. Call me Fender.
I really think that if you kind of think about it as more of like a direct, you know, sometimes in the 80s and stuff, there was, or sometimes you get those like acoustic guitar sounds that are direct and they put chorus on it or something. You know, it's not more like that kind of thing, you know? You're not going to get the great acoustic tone from it live playing direct. It's always going to sound a little bit like
and that's, I guess that's my standard, is that like my acoustic rig, I've got it really dialed in with like the LR bags and like a good preamp and everything. And it's a good live acoustic tone. And then I play that thing and I'm like, I want it to be speedy and also still have the tone. And it's, you know, maybe I'll give it that. It's a good idea, but it's not there for live quite yet. Maybe I'll walk back to that.
I'd be curious to know if there's any kind of iconic guitar parts that have been recorded with one of those, or like if there's anything that like because I haven't done any research to know that information, but I'd be curious to know if there's like an iconic part that's been played with one that we're just like shitting on right now.
I'll check it out. I'll check it out because they're modern too. I mean, they're not, you know.
Yeah, they're within the last like 10 years probably.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know, there was in the 90s, I think, when Sting came out with Nothing Like the Sun, that album, there was that, or like Phil Collins, that whole era. Dominic Miller was playing on a lot of that stuff. And Dominic plays nylon string guitar direct.
Okay.
And it became a sound, you know? There was those Gibson guitars that were kind of thin, you know, and a lot of that was kind of the sound of like the late 80s, early 90s, where the direct sound has become like a thing. And you can hear it on those records, some Phil Collins records and Sting records. It's not mic guitars. And also, I know it for a fact because it's a friend of mine, Dominic, but a lot of those Sting guitars from that era are direct.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense.
You know, so it's the same thing with this guitar. It's like something that you can kind of create a new kind of little different texture that's not really an amp, but it's not acoustic either. I think that's why they kind of developed this thing. I don't know if anybody made a career out of it yet, but
maybe one day.
That's my opinion about it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Well, you got an unpopular opinion, Oz?
Unpopular opinion about the gear?
Just in general. It can be literally any. We've done food. We've done like movies. It can be about whatever you want, literally.
I noticed something lately. I don't know how many Jazz New York guys are going to listen to this, but you know who Kurt Rosenwinkel is?
Yeah.
Guitar. So he's like the kind of new jazz guy forever. He's like the man, you know. And he's got a thing where he uses this thing called the POG.
Oh yeah.
The Electro-Harmonix, and he takes what it does. He does something really brilliant. He takes with the POG, when you put it on, you can take the picking out of the note. He made like a whole signature sound out of that, which is great. It's his own thing. He owns it. And every time I hear a jazz guitar player guy use that pedal, it immediately sounds like him. And I just want to tell all those guys, take that shit out of your pedal board. It's over. Find something new.
Right.
Yeah. Because it's like almost like, you know, like, I don't know, like Eric Johnson on a fuzz face. You play that sound for 1 second, you know that's Eric, you know. So I know it's hard to do because it's a really cool sound and it kind of gives you a vibe. But unless you want to really sound like Kurt, you gotta not do it. And I've seen a bunch of people do it in New York, and I'm not the guy to tell them no, you know. But that's my opinion about it. Is it's over. He owns that shit. Move on.
Move on. Yeah. That's fun. I feel like Pat Metheny had a similar thing in like the '80s too, but it wasn't a Pog. It was some kind of like synth sound. I don't know what. Do you know what it was?
He had that synth guitar thing, but he also had that stereo chorus, you know,
right
on his guitar. It's like once those guys do it, it's great and everything, but you have to find your own shit because unless you really want to sound like him, you know.
Yeah, it's great for like a tribute for a second or something. Like if you're doing a solo and want to almost like give him a nod or something like that. Sure, but if you use it every solo and you're just trying to pass it off, like get out of here.
Yeah.
You know, Eric Johnson's a friend of mine, and sometimes we play together. And one of the times he was playing in New York a bunch of years ago, I sat in with him and he goes, "Yeah, just play my guitar and plug it to my Marshall." And every note I played sounded like him.
Yeah.
like every note, you can't get away from that sound. And I remember going like, "Oh shit, what I'm gonna," you know. So it's kind of that thing where it's great, but he owns it. Move to another area, you know what I mean?
Yeah. All right, let me do my unpopular opinion this week. Let's see what we got. I hate the subtitles when people put subtitles on and you don't, and like if you speak English and you're not deaf, why do we have subtitles on when we're watching movies, especially if we're watching like comedies where it takes the punchline out of everything? Some people are better readers than they are listeners, and I get that, but I mean, bro, talk about killing anticipation for anything that you're watching. I don't know. I hate it.
Yeah, I would say as a foreigner that English is my second language. Some movies, not all movies, but some movies, it helps because you can kind of sometimes don't quite understand what they're saying, you know.
Totally, and I get that 100%. Like my family is from South America and from Cuba, and we have to often make those adjustments, and that's totally fine. But when I'm like with my friends and stuff that don't, where there's none of those precursors, and one person wants the subtitles on, I'm like, bro, it's also distracting because like I end up reading them and not watching the movie, so I'm just like, I'm missing shit, you know what I mean?
Just read slower.
Read slower.
Read slower. Don't give away your own punchline. Well, my thing is I stand in front of a guitar amp too much to hear everything. So like,
the rest of us here don't stand in front of guitar amps or anything.
I'm just saying, it's nice to be like, what did he say? Oh, I get it now. It makes sense.
Yeah, I feel
I'm a subtitle guy.
You're a subtitle guy. All right. And Oz, how do you? So for you, it helps. But how do you feel about it in general? If you don't need them, do you like having them there? No, you're not into it either. Okay, I'm not alone on this one.
All right, fine.